So, hello and welcome to Open for Business CEO Style. I am Toby Ferrel, your certified entrepreneur and business coach. From startup to scaled success, I help women entrepreneurs grow businesses they love. Joining me today is my dear friend. Oh, we are so lucky to have her. Just know how she has such a busy schedule, and I'm so glad that she was able to squeeze us in this morning. So my dear friend, Kimberly Flory of Flory Financial Coaching, aka the Debt-Free Pharmacist. I just love that title. Welcome, Kimberly, and how are you this day?
I'm doing great today. Thank you for asking.
Great. Well, we're happy to have you. So let's learn a little bit about Kimberly. She is a financial coach who helps people get control of their money, pay off debt, and work towards their saving goals. She's originally from outside the Pittsburgh area in Pennsylvania. She has over 30 years experience as a pharmacist. One of her claim to fames outside of the financial arena, I just think this is so cool. She has met many country stars, helping them feel better when she was a pharmacist in Nashville. So tell me a little bit about that. Have you, starstruck? What's a funny story that you could share about that?
Yes, I met several country stars that come into the pharmacy, some asking for over-the-counter questions, some for their prescriptions. And one of them, their family members are a famous country duo. I got to meet her, and a funny story about her, she would send in a courier to get her prescriptions all the time, but she would send them with no money.
Oh my.
So I'd have to call her up on the phone and get her credit card number. And I'm like, wow, I got her credit card number.
Yeah, let's go shopping. No,
That was pretty cool. And then, of course, I shredded up, but
yeah.
I just thought it was so fun, just talking to her on the phone, like she's an actual person, that
Yes,
we are regular people just like us.
Right. That is so cool. And a little bit more about her. So after becoming debt-free, she became a financial coach and is a graduate of Dave Ramsey's Financial Coach Master Training and is continuing her education with the Financial Coach Academy by Kelsa Dickey. This is one of my favorite things about you. It's a love story for the ages. She met, guys, listen, it's like a Hallmark movie. She met her husband, David, while taking ballroom dance lessons. Kim, is it safe to say that he swept you off your feet?
Yes, he says that all the time. He always says that.
Now, he was the instructor, right? And you were the student?
That's correct.
That's a taboo relationship. I'm so glad, that it worked out well. And you guys are still married today. I love seeing your photos on Facebook. The two of you are just the cutest couple. So
thank you.
So happy for you guys. So welcome to the show. And we're going to do some question and answers and go from there. So let's get started. So Kim, I'm going to call you Kim because that's what I call you.
Yeah, that's fine. Everybody calls
Kimberly
me.
is when you're in trouble, and you're not in trouble, or never by me. So I reserve that for your mom. So what are the most common financial challenges women face, and how can they overcome them?
Sure, that's a good question. I think the most common challenge that women face is just the lack of confidence with their finances. And I think that comes from not having enough knowledge, fear of the unknown, not having that knowledge. I think that's a big one. And I think once you can gain that confidence, then you can make those important financial decisions. So I think, that is one. And then another one that's a big one is not being involved with the finances, especially if you're a married woman, just letting the husband take care of it.
Yes.
Because that even happens with entrepreneurs, like I have a couple where she's an entrepreneur, but her husband's mostly taking care of the finances. Now, since working together, they're both doing it. But I think that's the number one thing, because you never know if your marriage is going to end up in divorce, or if you're going to have a spouse that passes away. And if you're not involved with the finances, that's going to be very challenging for you to start to learn it in the moment, because you're going to be filled with those emotions of grief or sadness. So I think those are the number two, or, the top two challenges that women face.
Yeah. My mom faced that when my father passed away a couple of years, and he took care of all the finances, and she had no clue. She had no clue. And I had to come in and help her and show her. And I'm so proud of her because probably it was only like maybe after 3 or 4 months, she said, all right, I'm ready to take it over. And now, oh my God, she's like a little financial powerhouse. She has investments like on the stock market. I gave her some money to go play there because she always liked to watch the ticker or whatever they do there. But holy moly, but that is so important. So when you talk about the fear of the unknown, what exactly unknown? Is it the unknown of how to do finances? Is it the unknown of, I mean, what, I don't even know what to ask. I mean, is it the unknown of the unknown? Like, is it things? Is it places? What does that, how does that fear come about?
Yeah, I think when I say that, I mean, not knowing like your numbers, not knowing where you stand. Because it can be very, very overwhelming.
Yeah.
It can be daunting to sit down and just lay everything out, because a lot of times you don't want to know, so just breaking it down, knowing your numbers, and also, some of the language can be very technical. There's a lot of jargon. So just, learning that knowledge, either reading books or listening to podcasts to break it down, look up something that you don't know or ask for help.
Sure.
And I think that's very important, to have a mentor or someone professional that can help you just break down the knowledge. Because once you know the knowledge, it's not as scary.
Right. That helps. That clarifies that. Thank you. And then you also talked about having the self-confidence. And is it both like the internal self-confidence, like I am confident about myself and everything I do, or is it mostly the financial self-confidence? Or I would imagine probably a little bit of combination.
Yeah, I think it is a combination of both. And I think, confidence is crucial, because when you have confidence, you're going to be better off making those financial decisions. You're going to feel good about the decisions that you're making. You're not going to be second guessing yourself.
Right.
You're also going to be able to take those, risk, like investing in the stock market, because you're going to know a little bit about it. You're going to learn a little bit about it. You're going to have that knowledge. You're not going to be so scared to invest in the stock market, and also making decisions for your business so that you can grow. Confidence is key.
It is. It is. And we struggle with that as women. I can't tell you how it's like a daily roller coaster with me personally.
Me too.
I'd like to think I was more confident than I am, or maybe a little bit more confident than I portray out in the public world sometimes. But yeah, I'm a firm believer of fake it till you make it. And maybe that's what gives me the power to keep going. But no, that is so key, is to have that confidence, especially as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. You have to know where your numbers are. You have to know where you're going. And you even have to know how you got there. I mean, so you don't repeat those errors, or you do repeat the good things that you did to get to have the bank balance and the debt balance down enough to continue with that stride.
Exactly.
So thank you. So what are some strategies that you think that women can do to build financial resilience in economic storms? I mean, listen, the stock market just took a deep dive off of a short pier just a few days ago. I understand it's coming back a little bit. But I mean, I know that, your personal income, which is what we're talking about, right? Being debt-free, has some correlation linked to what the stock market does. And it does create economic storms. I mean, inflation is an all-time high.
Yes.
Groceries are at all-time high, gas or insurance, everything, our cost of living. But what's not going up is our incomes, not so much.
That's true.
Rate. So what are some strategies that women can do to build a resilience or a resistance to these economic storms?
Well, I think being prepared and having a plan in place, like definitely having an emergency fund is key, because, if things happen in the market, and even with like pandemics, things like that, people weren't working. So if you don't have that emergency fund set up, then you're going to be struggling. And it could be a job loss or reduced hours, or maybe your business, you have your own business, but maybe you're not having the clients that you are because of they can't afford your services possibly.
Sure. Sure.
So, you have to be prepared for that. So having that emergency fund, and I think also personally being debt free or as close to debt free as you can, because that's going to help you as well. So that when you do have those downturns, you do have your emergency fund in place. You don't have to worry about your debt. You're going to be more strongly prepared, especially with hurricanes, storms, pandemics. Things are going to happen. Life's going to happen. So having those situations where you have a plan in place, where you're tracking your expenses, where you're being debt free, where you're having that emergency fund, and also having that confidence and mindset to be able to maybe come up with another stream of income. I think that's very important as well.
Yes, yes. Passive income is great. It's still a time builder, right? It doesn't necessarily happen overnight unless you buy an existing business that already has the active passive income. But to build it, yeah, that is so important. That is so important. So tell me, you had mentioned, having a savings, right? Having a rainy day fund. Do you have any thoughts or beliefs about a certain percentage of your income that you should put away? What one good stealth tip could you give our listeners today about creating a rainy day fund, a savings account?
Well, I truly believe that you should have at least 3 to 6 months of expenses. And when I say that, I don't just mean those regular normal expenses that you have coming in. But I mean everything, taking everything into consideration. So not like 2 or 3, 6 months of your pays. You want to have every expense that you have taken care of. Now, you also want to think about things that you would be able to cut if an emergency happened. So, maybe you didn't need those subscriptions, things like that. But if they're important to you, you want to make sure that you're taking that into consideration into that number, because a lot of people, you have those non-negotiable items that no matter what happens, you want to have money for that.
Well,
So
yeah, I
you
need
want
to pay
to
my mortgage.
or even like, say you go to the spa and that's important to you, you want to make sure that that's included in your emergency fund.
Sure.
Sometimes people have things that are non-negotiable.
Right.
For me, it's going to the acupuncturist. That's non-negotiable. That's part of my health care.
Right. And if you have to cut out the coffee drinks to go to the acupuncturist,
yes, if you could, yes, do that.
or the nail salon or whatever it is, listen, we all have to make these choices, right? But that's a good point, is to understand exactly what is a non-negotiable for you, right? Of course, outside of the mortgage, the power, the internet, whatever else you may have. But for someone who has a zero, they don't even have a savings account, right? What is the best strategy for them to get to that 3 to 6 months worth of savings?
Definitely. Well, I do recommend having, I know certain people say have at least $1,000, which is a good start. But I think at least 1 month. And if you can only start small, $20 a week, $30 a week, do it, because it's going to start to build up. It may take you a little longer to get to that amount that you're going to set for yourself, but you're going to get there. And then also I recommend putting it in a high yield savings account, because right now, since the interest rates are high, they're paying around 4 or 5%.
Wow.
That's better than sitting in your regular bank account that might be paying like 3 to 5 cents.
Right, 3 to 5 cents.
So putting it in there and keeping it separate from your regular checking account, because you don't want to be tempted to keep pulling it over. You want it to be there when you need it for an emergency, but you don't want it to be so easy that you could just press a button and transfer it over.
Right, or use it for overdraft protection.
Exactly. Right. So, automating it also, just having it come out of your account, like I said, even if it's $20 a week, just automating that, you're not going to miss it, because you may be, like you said, going for coffee 2 or 3 times a week. That could be that coffee money going towards your savings. So I think that's very important.
That is so true. You're not going to miss it. Yesterday I looked at my bank balance, and I have a savings account, and I have an automatic transfer every pay period that I get paid. And it goes from there, it's like $20 or $25. And, but I use that for my fun money, right? So it's not a savings account, it's my fun money. And I know what that balance was. I mean, it was down to like $10. And then when I looked at it yesterday, it was up to like $100. And I was like, and I hadn't looked at it in a while. And I was like, wait a minute, who put money in my account? And then I realized, oh look, there's my transfer, my transfer, my
Yeah.
transfer. And then in my regular checking, which I call my personal operating, right? Because that pays all the bills. And I'm like, I never even noticed that it went.
Yeah, see,
Totally
outside
forgot even had it set up. I mean, I didn't even miss it, you know. And so that is key. That is key. That is key. This is so much great information. Thank you so much for sharing all this. Talk about mindset, because mindset is a big topic right now, right? Money mindset, financial mindset, positive mindset, business mindset. Mindset is just everywhere, right? How can women cultivate a strong financial mindset to achieve their goals?
Okay. Well, I think the first thing that you should do is give yourself some grace. That's important. You have to let go of those past
So
mistakes.
important. Yes.
You know, it's okay to sit there and think about the mistakes that you made and reflect on them a little bit, but then think about what you learned from that mistake. Because every mistake that you make, you're going to learn something from it, whether it's not to do that again or whatever it is, you're going to learn something from it. And then put it in a balloon, let it float away. Just let it go. You know, you have to do that. And then I think taking your mind and thinking about those limiting mind beliefs, like, you know, you're not good with money, or, you know, my family wasn't good with money, so I'm not going to be good with money. I can't get ahead. I'm always going to be in debt. Take those mindset and kind of shift it and give yourself some positive affirmations like, I am good with money. I am going to make good financial decisions, and start thinking that way. I think is very important. And then also, you know, thinking about abundance and gratitude and being grateful for what you have. I think those all can help to build your mindset in a positive way, because you want to keep thinking positively, not negatively. So it's an everyday thing that you have to do. Those affirmations, just every day, keep reinforcing it, and you will start to believe it.
I love that. I love that. Affirmations are so important, you know, and a lot of people think, oh, it's so foo-foo, but you know, it helps. It helps the psyche. It does. And I used to be one of those people to be like, but you know, I mean, but it's so true. It's so true. I wouldn't have what I have today without a positive mindset. I really wouldn't. And making conscious decisions and being present in my day to day and understanding the what the results of my actions, right? Consequences are both positive and negative. I know consequences has a negative spin, but it is a positive consequence too, of me making these decisions with purpose and being present and understanding what could happen if I do or don't, right? My goodness, I recently decided not to go on a shopping spree for new clothes.
Good for you.
Why? Not because I don't need them, because I do. I do. I need, everybody needs new clothes, right? I mean, come on. But so I work full time, right? I still have a full-time job in addition to being an entrepreneur and business coach. But my full-time job is changing to where I'm going to be remote. I'm going to be here.
Wow, that's awesome.
So really, what do I need new clothes for?
That's true. That's true.
Right? Okay, so I did go on a little shopping spree. I didn't go as much as buying a whole new wardrobe, but I bought a couple of key pieces that I could use and to freshen up my wardrobe. So when I go out and network and meet clients outside of my home, and in real life, off of Zoom, wow, what an anomaly. I still look a little bit fresh, right? So, and I don't feel so tired. Not that my clothes look tired, but you know, you get tired of wearing the same.
Oh yeah, you do. You do. You want to look a little different every now and then.
So I think, you know, I was very present in that, and that, you know, I think that worked out well. And the delivery will be here in a couple days. I can't wait for my new clothes. But anyway. But yeah, you have to be present. You have to be present and understand the consequences in every action that you make.
Yeah, I had a client who every time we'd meet, you know, we'd look at his debt. It was a husband and wife. And he'd be like, that's so stupid. Oh, that was so stupid. I said, don't say that. I'm like, what did you get from that debt? Did you get any joy from it? Well, yeah, I did a trip in that. I'm like, think about that. You know, you're not going to go into debt anymore, but what did you get from it? You got
Sure.
something great. You got a family experience or whatever it is.
Memories.
So I
Yeah.
think it's important to keep that in mind as well.
Hmm. So, talking about debt, what advice do you have for women who are struggling with debt? I mean, we're all struggling with debt. I mean, it's
Yes.
the way to life, I think, right now, unfortunately. But listen, if we're a graduate of your program, we're not struggling with debt anymore. But so how what advice do you have for them?
Well, I think first of all, you have to think about the mindset and your decisions that you're making. So you have to commit to not to go into any more debt if you can.
That's big.
So that's very important to either live a debt-free life or to at least be actively paying your debt. That's important. And there's a couple different strategies that I recommend. And you probably heard of the debt snowball, where you pay the smallest debt first, then you
Yes.
go on to the next debt. There's also the avalanche method, where you pay by interest rate, which I don't usually recommend that one, because usually your biggest debt may have the biggest interest rate, and it's going to take you a very long time, and that could be very demotivating.
Hmm.
And then there's also a method which, I never really thought about, but I did it with a client, and it was the debt that has the most baggage, or the one that you hate the most.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yes, he had a debt that was like, the interest was like astronomical. I mean, it was like over 100% interest,
Oh
his debt,
my.
because of the way he accumulated it. And it was eating him up inside. So we focused on that debt, and he did pay that one off first. And then it was just like such a reliever, because it reminded him of the mistake that he made. That mistake, he couldn't take it anymore. So
Right.
we focused on that one, and he paid that one off first, and then he went to the debt snowball.
Right.
But for those of you that don't know, the debt snowball, the one that I recommend, is where you list out your debts from the smallest to the largest. You don't have to worry about the interest rate.
Right.
And you take that smallest debt and you put everything you have on that.
Mm.
Once you pay it off, you take that payment that you were paying on your regular next one, plus all that extra money, and
Right.
you work on that one, just paying minimum on everything else. And you keep doing that, and it becomes like a snowball, where you keep getting that momentum.
Hmm.
It gives you those quick wins, which keeps you motivated, and it
Yeah.
gets you on that fast track. And some other things that I suggest for paying off debt: get rid of those subscriptions that you're not using on a regular basis. Those can add some quick money to you. Get rid of those emails that are coming to your inbox telling you about those 1-day sales. You got to have this now because it's too tempting.
Right.
Take your credit card number. Some people memorize it. I never did. Don't memorize it.
No.
Change it.
Right.
Put your card in the freezer. Put it in a closet. Forget about it. Take off some of those little automatic subscriptions from your credit card,
Right.
and just try to, get away from it as much as you can, because the more that you, like Apple Pay, your Fitbit, take your card off of that. It's too easy
Yes,
to
it
get
is.
into debt. It's too easy to use it, and it's hard to save. So if we could flip it, make it easier to save with automation, make it harder to use your credit card,
Right.
then you're going to be on the right path.
Yeah, that is such good advice. Thank you. And you talk about your Apple Pay, your Fitbit. My goodness. So my husband and I are huge fans of the mouse, and we go a lot, and you have these bands that give you the
Yes,
entrance to
seen
the theme
them.
park, and all you have to, and you put your credit card on it, and
Oh
all
my
you got to do
God.
is ding, ding, ding all day long around the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Around the countries. I'm drinking, I'm eating, I'm shopping. Oh my God. Then you get home and you're like,
Yes.
what?
Yeah, my husband and I, we went to SeaWorld with our niece and two nieces and nephew, and we had cash with us. But when we get there, they're cashless now. Now, I didn't see till we were leaving, they do have a machine that you can convert your cash into, like a card, but we didn't know that. And I'm like, when you're handing over a credit card or even your debit card, you don't feel that pain
Right.
as when you're
No.
handing over that cold hard cash. So
You're
that's
like,
another thing I recommend: using cash, even if you're
mm,
taking it out of your debit card and having it with
yeah,
you, because it's going to help you with those decisions and
Yes.
decrease your spending. You really will decrease your spending when you see what you're actually being. Visual is key, seeing
Yes.
what you're doing.
That is so important. I am a cashless girl. It is debit card all day, every day. And so, but that is a good strategy that I'm gonna have to implement myself, is start taking cash out of the bank and then utilizing that for my weekly meals or whatever, usually my weekly meals, right? Or food shopping or
Mhm.
something like that. It's usually food oriented.
Yes, definitely.
Oh my goodness. All right. Um, so I know that we talked a lot about self-confidence and how to get out and how to overcome, the negative thoughts. But let's talk about a little bit about stress and anxiety, right?
Mhm.
My goodness, I can't tell you. So there are days where I wish my husband would just take over the whole bills. I really would. I just take it. You make it work, right? Um, I don't want to know, right? But so the stress and anxiety that I have over our financials, oh my goodness, is tremendous. So how can women like myself and who has this stress and anxiety, what can we do to overcome these things?
That's a good question. That's kind of what got me on my financial journey, was the
Mm,
stress and anxiety when I was paying off student loans and I had credit cards, and I would like sit there. I decided to write it all down and look at it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this, amount of money. It was like over with the credit cards and student loans, like 70, $80,000, and I'm like,
yes.
how am I going to do this? So you got to stop. You got to assess where you are. Write it all down like that, know where you stand first, and then break it down, because it seems like such a big number. So break it down into little, like you do with your goals, breaking your goals down, break down the debt.
Mm,
What is a reasonable time that you think you can pay it off? So is 5 years reasonable, 4 years, three, and break it down and then run your numbers and say, well, maybe I can't afford it. Maybe I have to stretch it out a little longer.
right.
So breaking it into those short-term, mid-term, long-term goals, because you want to have a date where it's paid off. You got to
Yes.
set a date. I think that's very important. Not say I want to pay off my debt, but to have a date that you have in
Date.
mind. And
Right.
it could be, sometimes it could be 2.5, 3, 4 years. It
Sure.
doesn't matter as long as you're actively working towards it.
Right.
So I think that's important. And like I said earlier, don't be overwhelmed by it. When you break it down, it's going to make it more manageable. Okay, well, I could pay this much, set yourself a monthly goal. Okay, it doesn't seem as daunting,
Right.
and keep us reassessing it, because if you get more income, if you get your business picks up, or maybe you get a bonus, or
Yeah.
maybe you get a tax return, to have a place for that money to assign it. And so if you're actively assigning your money to these goals, it's going to bring down the stress level because you have a plan in place. It's very important to have that plan set up.
Planning comes down to everything we do, right? I preach business plans for every business owner. No matter whether you have any sales or no employees, you should still have a business plan, because that guides you to where you want to go. We plan for our retirement, or we hope we do, right?
Yes.
We plan on our weddings, we plan our children's birthday parties, we plan everything, we plan our vacations. And I just find that planning for our everyday finances is something that, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is something that probably a lot of people don't do.
It is true. I have people that are making very good incomes, and I ask them, one of the first questions I ask them, what type of budgeting system, are you doing a budget?
Mm,
And most of them say no.
right. No,
And
no,
I'm so surprised by that, because like, how do you know where your money is going? And you don't. I used to do that.
right.
And I didn't know. I'm like, my pay's already gone before I got it. What happened?
What happened? Exactly.
Because, and we're always looking backwards, like, oh,
What
what the heck
happened? Right.
happened? So I like to work with clients and have them looking forward, projecting,
Ah,
you got to
yes.
switch it around.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it. This is great. So yeah, a plan is important. So let me ask you, as we get started to wrap this up, because time is, we got to get you on your day. I know you have a very tight time frame. I've got to get on my day. I don't have as much of a tight time frame today, but you know, heck, why not? But tell me what so if somebody wants to hire a money mindset coach, or it's someone like yourself, heck, even yourself, what value do you bring to that scenario versus someone who says, well, I can make my own budget, I'll DIY it?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Well, one of the things that I love to work with clients is I like to help them gain clarity. And that's something that they may not do on their own. So getting that clarity of laying everything out, and I don't mean like just when someone makes a budget, I mean everything that's going on throughout the year. Because a lot of times they're not taking that into consideration. They're thinking, well, I could pay my monthly bills. I don't need a coach. But they're not looking at everything. And then when something happens, like quarterly, yearly, then that's when the stress, we talking about stress, that's when the stress and anxiety really happens. So working with a coach can get you into that routine to help build those daily habits, to help set up that plan, taking into consideration all those things. You know, when I meet with a client and we start working together, I'm like, what do you have going on this month? We start setting that up. What do you have going on for the next 3 to 4 months so we could start planning for it?
Right.
Also, you know, getting them into the habit of doing that budget, because the key is to get them so maybe they can graduate from me and do it on their own, to have that confidence. And also working together, that accountability, because they may say they're going to do it, but are they really going to do it? You have to be really, really motivated, either by fear or stress or anxiety, like I was. So I was motivated to do it. You know, are you going to be tracking your expenses? Are you going to create that budget? So that's where working with a coach can get them into those healthy habits.
Right. It's important that what you said. I mean, to be motivated by stress, fear, and anxiety are the worst kinds of motivation to have, the worst. Because what happens is usually it goes past the motivation of wanting to do something and immediately going into the motivation to stick your head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist. My goodness, that is the worst. So if someone like yourself can help spin that around and keep people accountable, because that is so valuable, is the accountability of staying on track and staying focused and staying on your goals and staying on your budget. And that's whether it's money, business, being a great wife, being a great mom, whatever it is being accountable, and, you know, coworker, leader.
Yeah, even like with weight loss and nutrition.
Weight loss, sure,
all of
everything. You need that accountability. You need that accountability. And that is so huge, so huge. Well, listen, this has been wonderful. I want to thank you so much for your time and squeezing me in this morning.
Thank you.
I know I want to ask you a couple last minute plug questions. So I know you're known as the Debt-Free Pharmacist, but do you only work with pharmacists, or do you work with anybody?
No, I mean, I specialize in helping pharmacists because that's what I know. But other healthcare professionals, and I help people that are not healthcare professionals as well. Anybody that is really motivated, that is ready to make that change, that's my ideal client. You know, you have to want it for yourself in order for me to be able to help you. So anybody that is definitely motivated, that wants to start working on it, I can work with.
What's the best way that someone can reach out to you?
Well, you know, you can always schedule a consultation. It's a 20-minute it's a free consultation. And so we can learn about each other, learn about our situations, and you can schedule that. You can go straight to my website, which is www.floryfinancialcoaching.com. And I do have a calendar link on that. It takes, I get a notification, and that's the first step to work with me, you know, to see if you actually do need a coach. Maybe you don't, you know, but we won't know until we talk.
Until we talk. Awesome. And by the way, you don't have to worry about pulling off to the side of the road as you're listening to this lovely podcast to write down her website. All of her contact information will be in the show notes. And you have something special coming up, don't you?
That's
Can you
true.
tell
Yes.
us a little bit about that?
Yes, on August 24th, I'm going to be doing a Zoom webinar, and it is going to be on
Ooh.
mindset, and then some of those little daily habits that you could start doing to make a change. So we're going to dive deep into it, those challenges that might be holding you back so that you can flip it around and start making those changes. So I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be really great.
I love it. And I am registered. I am
Yes.
registered and excited and fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Kim with Flory Financial Coaching, thank you so much for this. This has been huge. I hope you guys listening have come away with some little golden nuggets to help you. And that's a wrap of another episode of Open for Business, CEO Style. I am Toby Ferrel, your certified entrepreneur and business coach. From startup to scaled success, I help women entrepreneurs grow businesses they love. Have a great day.